Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and welcome back to the channel. I am the Southern Fried Film Nerd, and today we're going to be talking about a little film called Final Destination. I was debating, it's been a long time since I have tried the YouTube thing, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to like script a whole thing out or something like that, but I feel like I would just bog myself down in things at the moment. I just want to get started. I want to do something. So here we go. I've just made a pros and cons list. You'll see me occasionally look over to read off of it so that I know exactly what I'm talking about. And you'll also occasionally see me sometimes put my glasses on because I am blind as a bat without them. However, I don't like the glare that they have from the lights. So here we go. Alright. So the year is 2000, and a little movie comes out called Final Destination, starring Devon Sawa and Ali Larter, Tony Todd, Sean William Scott, and it originated as a script for the X-Files that got upscaled into a movie, and it has led to what I consider to be one of the funnest horror franchises that has ever existed, with some exceptions that I will get into eventually because I'm going to do the other movies after this one. So anyway, right off the bat, let's go ahead and get started. The pros. I'm going to start with the pros for this movie. I want to say, like, the very main opening of the movie, like the opening credit sequence, the way the music is playing, it's like all somber and slow, and it's like dark and gothic. That part of the score, I love. I love that part of the score. I don't so much care for the soundtrack to the movie. Anytime you go into like an actual song that was recorded by an artist or something, it kind of, like, it doesn't, like, none of the songs are recognizable, so I'm not a big fan, but I do love like the slow, dark, somber, gothic music, and that is the perfect score for this film because when I'll go into deeper in the cons, it's a bit of a slow burn kind of movie, which, you know, in retrospect, like in a rewatch, kind of hurts it a bit. But anyway, the let's see, what do we got here? Oh, okay. So I think a large part of this movie that I love is like the first 20 or 30 minutes of the movie. Because in the first 20 or 30 so minutes of from point one, from the moment the credits end and you start meeting the characters and they're going through their day and they're doing their stuff, there's like this deep dread, this ominous feel to the film. Like, you know, Alex keeps seeing signs here and signs there, and everything feels a little weird, and the John Denver song's playing, and the clock's flashing to 180, and all this stuff, and it just gives you this sense that something bad is going to happen, and it's kind of, it's like very suspenseful. It's like keeps me on my edge of the seat, all the way up until well, spoiler alert for a 25-year-old movie. If you've not watched it yet, that's on you. All the way up to the point that the plane explodes. Everything from the beginning of the movie to there, chef's kiss. Wonderful. I think it's amazing. I don't think it's boring. I don't think it's too slow. I don't think it's confusing or anything like that. Which leads me into the next point of the movie, the thing that kind of like makes the rest of the movie still kind of okay with the flaws that I'm going to mention later. The cast is phenomenal. I think this may be the best cast in a Final Destination film. I haven't rewatched the others yet, so I say that with a grain of salt because who knows, I could be completely wrong about that, and maybe I'll get into, like, I don't know, one of the other ones and be like, oh my god, this is the most amazing cast in the franchise. I don't know. But, like, you've got Devon Sawa, Ali Larter, Sean William Scott, Tony Todd. It's just a fantastic cast. They're all of them except for Tony Todd, rest in peace, God bless the man. All of them except for Tony Todd are, relatively new, kind of inexperienced. They've not done a lot yet, which is also kind of a trip when you go back and rewatch, because you're like, oh my god. Actually, I wrote down a note. I don't know where I put my notebook, but I wrote down a note that said Devon Sawa looks so young. He's like a little baby. He's just a little baby. And then I think outside of that, Kerr Smith, who I don't know that he went on to have like a big career. I've not heard of him being anything. The last thing I remember seeing him in was like one of the later seasons of Charmed back in the day. But I feel like he did a really good job of just playing that like high school dickhead, right? Every one of these characters, they are cliches, they are stereotypes, but the movie spends enough time with them, it takes enough time with them for you to kind of get to know who they are, like kind of get like a glimpse of why they are the person that they are. So they're more than just the Breakfast Club in a movie where death is trying to kill them. Like, yeah, you get the jock and the popular girl and the outcast and the nerdy guy and all this, that, and the other, but they expand upon them a lot more. It's one of the benefits of the movie moving as slow as it does, is you really get to spend time with the characters. There was really only one point in the movie where the acting took me out of it, and that's Billy's death. Sean William Scott, the way he's acting right before the whoosh comes, it's like so much, like he goes so high with it, and it kind of made me go, oh, he's really shooting for the cheap seats on that one. But still, he was charming and enduring, and that's why he went on to have the career that he had. And he was also funny, which is kind of the reason that his career kind of died, because there wasn't really anything for him to do after he grew out of the frat boy persona age that he was so popular for. And then Tony Todd. What can I say about Tony Todd that hasn't been said 1,000 times by 3 billion other people? The man was phenomenal. I never got to meet him. It's one of the great regrets of my life. I had a friend who met him at a horror con and said he was just the nicest, most sweetest, friendliest guy that they had ever met. And I like that. I like the humble, the gracious people. I mean, obviously the man is a horror icon, but he was more than that. He was in so many other things. In Star Trek Deep Space Nine, there's an episode where he plays the grown-up version of one of the character's children because of timeline shenanigans. And it's just such a heart-rending episode, and it's so beautiful, and it really kind of gives you like a glimpse of the depth that the man could go to. And still, it's Candyman. Come on, Candyman. And then after that, the cast, the score, the film's pretty well made, right? Like there's no problems there. The editing's fine, the directing's okay, the cinematography's, pretty early 2000s. But the only other thing that I really have listed in the pros column is the scene towards the end of the movie when Alex is trying to hide out in the cabin, and he's like going through and like duct taping down and like securing stuff. Like he knows that death is a fan of Rube Goldberg and is going to like create this intricate machine that's going to cause that to fall and roll over here and splash against that and an explosion, then boom, and a pop. And it's just funny to watch him do it, and the end of the scene where he, declares that he's going to beat death and everything. It always gives me a nice chuckle. It's one of those things that I've always been very fond of. It's one of those things that I've remembered when I sat down to watch the movie. It had been, I don't know, it's probably been more than a decade since I've watched this movie, and that was one of the first scenes that it just came flooding back into my head. I was like, it's so good. And then that's going to lead me to the meh section, which is the things that kind of fall in between the pros and the cons. As the first movie in the franchise, the deaths are as a whole, like there's 2 really good sequences in here, but as a whole the deaths are kind of underwhelming. They cut away from a lot of them are really quick and over and done with, and it's like and I understand if all of the deaths had been as intricate and stuff as the other two sequences I'm referring to, then it probably would have been stale, it would have been boring, you'd have got tired of it, the movie would have been way too long. But I feel like, particularly one of them at least, could have been done drastically better. With that being said, one of my favorite deaths in the entire series is in this movie, and that is when Todd meets his end in the bathroom, in the bathtub. That is a death that has stuck with me from cinema for 25 years, since I saw the movie in theaters way back in 2000. It's just, I don't know, there's something about that one, and something about that one just got me. All right. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the cons section, which is a lot larger than the pros section. Spoiler alert. Okay, I'll just go straight down the list. The premonitions in the movie. Every other second, it feels like Alex is, getting a glimpse of, a bus in a reflection, or a ripped seat belt, or a little piece of paper that, is giving him, a warning or a clue. It's like, it makes it feel like if death is out to kill these characters, what is continually, like, if this was the design, if this was the natural design, which is what the movie implies, then why is Alex getting all of these warnings, right? You'd think death would want to be like, no more warnings for these people. Right? Like, he got lucky, we're not doing, but it's every other second. And even Clear, Ali Larter's character, she has several like premonition moments also in the movie, and it's kind of like it's like Deus Ex Machina. It's like spoon feeding. Like, there has to be a way for the characters to like try to fight back against this horrible situation that's occurring, but it just kind of feels lazy. And I think other movies in the franchise do a much better job of like creating these rules and like how you're supposed to deal with it and get away with it and get past it and all that stuff, that I like a lot better than this. Now, the next thing I have in my list of cons is a massive paragraph, and I am blind as a bat, but I remember most about what I said here. And it all comes down to the pacing of the movie. Like I said earlier, the first 30 so minutes of the movie, up until the point that the plane explodes, is wonderful. I feel like it's like, I won't say a masterclass, but it's very skillfully done. But then almost immediately after that, there is this tonal change, this vibe change. It feels like the movie just all of a sudden gets exhausted. It runs out of energy. Like, there's no steam behind the characters' actions. And I get it. They've just faced this huge, horrible tragedy. And like, they're traumatized in this. And there's a lot of great character moments and beats that happen in these moments, but it's like a noticeable lull. And, in retrospect, like way back when I first saw the film, I thought it was just kind of like a slow burn film, but not in the rewatch. I feel like there's definitely some pacing issues, particularly when the FBI agents come on screen, which is kind of funny considering that this originated as an X-Files episode script, and those FBI agents, I feel like, are a holdover, and Mulder and Scully would have been a lot more entertaining than this. And the problem, I think I've pinpointed what my problem with the FBI agents are. Every time they come on screen, it just drags the pace of the movie down. And the reason is because they don't actually have a purpose. All they are is like a shallow obstacle to Alex trying to solve the problem. Because we as the audience are aware that Alex is right. We as the audience are aware that Death is trying to kill these kids off. We as the audience know that Alex hasn't done anything wrong. The FBI agents suspect Alex of being, the killer who is, picking off all of his friends who survived the plane crash. And they would feel more natural and organic in the script if the movie had been written and made in such a way where we as the audience also suspected Alex of wrongdoing. we, the audience, had doubt that the whole death angle was what was actually happening, but that's not the movie. That's not what the movie wants to do. The movie doesn't want to waste time on that. The movie wants to, get to these intricate, death sequences and stuff, and, have fun with that. And when we do get to the intricate death sequences, it's fantastic. It's firing on all cylinders. But all of the moments in between, like the exposition scenes, the character development scenes, Alex and Clear, becoming a couple, which never, it's not bad, but it never really feels wholly organic to the story, and it just kind of pulls it down to like a glacial pace. And then there's also the issue of watching this movie on a rewatch. These are things that I probably wouldn't have said or thought when I first watched the movie, because when the movie first came out, we didn't have Final Destination 2, 3, 4, 5, and soon to be 6 coming out. It was new, it was fresh, it didn't have a legacy yet. And the other movies are a lot more quicker paced. They're a lot more fun. They have a lot more energy, more humor. They're more entertaining. I'm not saying that this movie is bad because it doesn't do that. I'm saying that when you compare it to the rest of the films in the series that it, created, it doesn't have the same feel or energy, which, kind of makes it a little more obvious when it's moving slow, or when it's kind of like dawdling around or twiddling its thumbs. Let's see, what's next? Alex coming to the conclusion that death is trying to kill them immediately after Todd's death. They've had one death post-plane crash, and Alex is already all on board with this. Death has a plan, and death is trying to kill them all off, and all that stuff. And I feel like it's a little rushed. It's a little too quick. It probably should have taken 2 deaths, like maybe after Terry, after the bus, after that, then maybe after that. But he jumps on it way too quick. And now the morgue scene. Now, I don't want people to accuse me of ripping off Mr. Cody Leach, who is a fantastic YouTuber who I have been following for years. I did watch his Final Destination review earlier, and there are a lot of things in this review that I have said that, are in line with what he said, and he had a lot of great points. And the morgue scene, I'm not going to say the same things that he did. Go watch his video. He does a really good job of explaining what's wrong with the morgue scene. But for me, it's just the characters don't show any emotion, right? Like, this is their friend who just died, Alex's best friend, and he's just looking at Todd's body like it's I don't know, like a plushie or something. It's completely inconsequential to him. Also, they broke into a morgue, and they faced no consequences for it, and that's weird because the mortician is there. The mortician sees them, and the mortician, obviously played by Tony Todd. It's the only real reason that the morgue scene is good, and outside of that, it only exists to give us exposition, and I already feel like we're in a movie that already has a ton of exposition, so I didn't really care that much on this rewatch. I always remembered the morgue scene being a favorite of mine. Turns out, as Cody said in his video, it's because Tony Todd's there. That's the only reason that it sticks in my mind, because Tony Todd is amazing. And the final con that I have for the first Final Destination is the entire third act of the film. I said the first 30 minutes are, so good. The last 15 to 20 minutes As soon as Alex realizes that Clear is next on the list and he has to run to try to save her, like, it turns into this weird action movie with Alex like running through the woods, evading the cops, and like Clear trying to save a dog from a downed power line, and they're climbing on houses and rolling down hills, and Alex almost drowns to death in a puddle pinned under a tree, and all this stuff. There's stuff happening. There is action occurring. It is fun. It's entertaining to watch, but when you compare it to the rest of the film, it doesn't make sense, at least to me. It's like Death changes its entire MO, its entire tactic, its strategy just becomes completely different. Every other Death up to this point has either been like planned out and intricate, and like Death is clearly in like 100% control of the situation, or it's just bam, quick, but bust smash, decapitation chunk, right? Like, it's quick, efficient, or planned out and in control. And in the last act of the movie, it's like Death just gets mad. Like, Death is just like chasing Clear through the house, like throwing electric wires at her and trying to make explosions happen and stuff. And I start going, it feels so shallow compared to the rest of it. And you could make the argument, it was like, well, the characters knew that, Death was onto them and all this and everything, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't feel right with the rest of the film to me. To just, implode into a giant action set piece at the end of the movie. And that's pretty much it. That is my thoughts on the first Final Destination. I'm going to rank all of the deaths in the series once I have watched all of the movies, but I will give you a quick spoiler alert here. I have my notes page. This is how I have ranked the deaths in the first movie so far. From worst to best. Carter is the worst death in the movie because you don't see nothing. A sign falls. Okay. And it cuts. The next worst death in the movie would be Billy's. It's quick, it's abrupt, it's funny, but it's kind of shallow. There's not a lot to it, and it's, preceded by what I feel like is the worst acting in the movie. The third worst death in the movie is Terry's. The bus smash. It's shocking, but it's just so quick, and I don't know, and I guess that's kind of the thing about it, but there's like no real lead up to it or build up to it, so I don't know, I'm torn on it. I'm gonna call it number 3. Number 2 is going to be Mrs. Luton's death. This is one of those deaths where death can be really cruel, and in this rewatch, everything I noticed that she's the reason that she died. Everything that she did led to her own death. And then number 1 is Todd's death, which I mentioned earlier has stuck with me for 25 years. The way Death acts like an actual slasher villain in that, feels like an actual entity is there doing the stuff, controlling the water, like tightening the cord. And that's it. That is all of my thoughts on the first Final Destination. I intend to make videos for all of them, and I intend to upload a bunch of content moving forward. So if you've liked what you see, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and until next time, remember, go forth and be good humans.